Hi, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to the global community for adult survivors of adverse childhood experiences. If you are an adult and you have endured any type of trauma as a child, any type of adverse childhood experiences, and it's still affecting you in your adult life, for instance, it's affecting your relationships, you're struggling to have healthy interpersonal relationships, whether that's with an intimate partner or with your children or with your boss, with your coworkers, with your employees. Maybe you just want to have healthier friendships where there's reciprocity inside the context of those friendships. And you also endured adverse childhood experiences, there's a chance that the two could be connected. Could also affect your relationship with money. Adverse childhood experiences can connect, has been scientifically proven to be connected to heart attack, heart disease, stroke, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, autoimmune disease, chronic fatigue, chronic pain. It can affect our relationships, our relationship with money, our relationship with ourselves. It can affect whether or not we're able to get that job that we want, hold down that job, pay our bills every month. Our physical health is a big deal. Our relational health is a big deal. Our financial health is a big deal. It can affect our relationship spiritually with our higher power, what we believe in. For me, that's God. And adverse childhood experiences can skew the lens that we see the whole world in. It can affect our entire world. So, and that can still affect you into adulthood. And if no one's ever validated that for you or let you know that your adverse childhood experiences could in fact affect you into adulthood, and this is the first you're hearing about that, and you're just used to people saying, get over it already. That's in the past. What's in the past is in the past. We need to press onward. We need to forget what lies behind. We need to forgive and forget. And while all those are very well-meaning thoughts, and I'm sure coming from a very thoughtful and well-meaning place, there is a time and a place to forgive or forget or move on or press onward or forget what lies behind. And it is never, ever going to be said on this particular YouTube channel that you need to just get over it and move on already. What's in the past is in the past. Because if I know anything, it's that the sky is blue and trauma doesn't just go away by itself. What's in the past is not just in the past. It affects our present. And we must work through it. The only way out is through. And so that's what we do here. We show up every week. We've been showing up every week together since 2014. And we talk and we share and we ask questions and we get answers to what's bothering us present day that may have come from a long time ago. So you're welcome here. If you are an adult survivor of adverse childhood experiences living with the symptoms of CPTSD, anxiety, depression, exaggerated startle response, sleeplessness, hopelessness, listlessness, panic attacks, anxiety disorder, struggles in your relationship, struggles in your finances, struggles with personal hygiene and taking care of yourself, multitasking, and just, all these things are affected by the way we're raised and the environment in which we're raised in. So that's what we do here. We talk about what happened a long time ago and how it may be showing up in our lives present day. And that is a trauma-informed perspective. If you've ever gone to a doctor's office and they told you that something happened a long time ago and so it couldn't be affecting you now, chances are that particular doctor is probably a very well-respected and well-educated and excellent doctor. They just might not be trauma-informed. If you've ever gone to a therapist office and your therapist has said, well, maybe your family really meant well. Maybe you're being a little overly sensitive. perhaps you could just forgive your family and move on. Maybe the things that happened a long time ago and how you're still holding on to those are something that you could just let go of if you wanted to. And maybe the problem is you. Chances are that's maybe a really good therapist, maybe a really good counselor, but it is highly likely that they're not trauma informed. This is a trauma informed environment, which means that what happens here, present day, numbing, stuffing, avoiding, addictions, eating disorders, suicidality, chronic pain, chronic fatigue, heart disease, stroke, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, Epstein-Barr syndrome, Crohn's disease, lupus. Chances are everything you're experiencing present day, there is a possibility that it could have something to do with what went on way back here. Because this and this, they look very similar, don't they? If you put them side by side, right? But the trauma that happened a long time ago, it's still going to show up present day if we don't work through it, talk about it, heal it in different ways. And there are trauma modalities that focus specifically on this, even within the context of body work and creating new neural pathways. Modern neuroscience applied to trauma-informed care means that we build resilience. And that's what we want to do. We want to build resilience. Resilience means that when something affects us present day, we recover from it quicker than we did a week ago, 2 weeks ago, 2 years ago, 2 decades ago, right? So trauma-informed approach means that we don't ever minimize what happens present day because it could be attached to something that happens back here. And trauma-informed approach plus modern neuroscience, PET scans, brain scans, creating new neural pathways, healing the trauma that's held in the body, somatic experiencing, as per Peter Levine, the body remembering the things that happened a long time ago, as per Bessel van der Kolk, Dan Siegel, Pat Ogden, Pete Walker, all of these people that are doing amazing work, right? Amazing work to inform the medical model so that the medical model will no longer be broken and we will have resilience. More doctors will be trauma informed, knowing that this is connected to this, and they will partner with us for our well-being and our physical and emotional, mental, spiritual, financial, and relational and occupational well-being. They partner with us. That's trauma informed. There's an empowerment there. It's not a reenactment of your trauma with the doctor being up here and you being down here, and there's no way to really reconcile the two. That's a trauma reenactment. Chances are, if you're here on this channel, you've been through situations for a long period of time where you were down here and someone was up here and it was very, 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 very stressful and you were just trying to survive. So if you go to a doctor that's not trauma informed, they're up here and you're down here. They're not partnering with you side by side, talking with you, looking for the best approach for you, empowering you with the power of choice, healthy choices. Let's work together. It's going to take some time. When we have them up here and us down here, that's a trauma reenactment. It's re-traumatizing over and over and over and over again. Ever wonder why it is potentially very triggering to go to the dentist or to go to the doctor, right? It's a reenactment of our trauma. It reminds us of things that happened a long time ago. So here on this channel, we talk about all of this. We talk about things from a trauma-informed perspective. We want you to feel better. We want you to care for yourselves. We want you to advocate for yourselves, right? We want to help you with learning how to advocate for yourself, how to take really good care of yourself, especially in present day 2019. We have a lot of resources at our fingertips. And sometimes self-care will look different for you than it will for someone else. Maybe Guayanas will have a different self-care regimen than John Harvey. Maybe Poppy will have a different self-care regimen than Shannon. Maybe Matt will have a different self-care regimen than me. Maybe Deborah Herendine will have a different self-care regimen than Angela M. Maybe Heroes Don't Wear Capes will have a different self-care regimen than Malta McMurtry. Maybe Hunter has a exact same self-care regimen as me with a couple of different video games added in and different art projects, because we're very similar in our recovery journey. He's my trauma recovery buddy. So I'm just saying, you guys, self-care looks different for everyone. It can look similar, but comparison, remember, comparison in trauma recovery rarely helps and is often harming. So if we want to outnumber all the thumbs downers, which obviously show up on this channel a lot, then it would really help me out if you chose to give this video a thumbs up or a thumbs down. But you can wait until the end, but at least vote thumbs up or thumbs down. Which is it? If this video ends up being helpful for you, or you think it might help somebody else, any thumbs up that you give me shows YouTube that the content I'm putting out is helpful and relevant, and they show favor on me and put me in the requested, or suggested rather, video stream of other trauma survivors online. And it really helps our channel grow, and we get to reach more people in a lot of other countries that don't have proper care and don't have access to the different resources that we do. So thank you so much for choosing to be here and for showing up for yourself today. We're going to pause and wish one another a very happy 2019 with lots of warm wishes. And I hope and pray that this year is your best year yet. If it's started off great and this has been a really great week for you, then high five, I'm celebrating that with you. If it's been a really struggling week, a really difficult week, perhaps you lost a loved one, maybe your New Year's resolution or goal or dream has not gotten off to a great start. Maybe you're struggling and you're not sleeping well, or you're not making the food choices that you want to make, or you're just struggling to connect with other people in your safe circle, or within the context of your loved ones that you want to spend time with. I mean, if that's you, then I'm here to sit with you in that and to help you with all of that I possibly can every single week. But if you're celebrating and you have hopes and prayers and dreams and goals that 2019 is going to be your best year yet, then I'm celebrating that with you, and I'm praying that with you, and I'm hoping that with you, and dreaming that with you, and I'll make that my goal as well. So each and every one of you mean a lot to me. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of your lives. Thank you for being a part of my life. My nephew is currently visiting with us from Iowa. He goes to Iowa State. Go Cyclones. He's at the beach, hanging out, going to pick up my husband. We're gonna barbecue and grill out and have some dinner together, and we're going to hike through waterfalls tomorrow. And that's what my self-care looks like today. Today it looks like I'm gonna have a salad and some chicken that my husband grills, and I'm gonna hang out with my nephew, probably play some games, turn in early and get a good night's sleep tonight. It is currently 4:22 in the afternoon. So for the next 3 or 4 hours, I'm going to hang out with you, and then go hang out with them and make some healthy food choices, try to hydrate. Speaking of which, got my little Jack Skellington from Nightmare Before Christmas cozy. It's my new one. And I'm just going to have a drink of water, and then I'm going to glance over at some questions. Thank you to each of you that show up here early. Excuse me. And thank you for sending in your questions by tag Matt Pappas to send in your questions, or you can tag Poppy in a little while when she gets here, or you can tag, those are the 2 people you can tag. And then we have lots of other moderators that are here to protect us if we have trolls, potato trolls, all kinds of different types of various trolls. So let me get a drink of water, and I'll go ahead and glance at your questions. Thank you so much for choosing to be here and showing up for yourself. This is just going to be an exciting discussion about the different types of self-care that we have as complex trauma survivors. One second here. One of those ways is drinking water, obviously. So I'm gonna share something with you all right now, okay? I have some very simple things that I would like to share with you that are a part of my own personal self-care regime, okay? I like moving air, and I don't like to be overly hot. I'm 45 years old. I'm not in menopause yet, but I sometimes get overheated, and it can be a little triggering for me because I'm learning now that when I was younger, I was forced to stay outside or be outside and in the heat and do like manual labor and different things and for long extended periods of time without access to the house. I only had like the garden hose. And I didn't have food at the time, like when I was outside, and I was told that I could eat when I was done. So for me, being overheated is a trauma trigger for me. So you can't see it right now, but I have a little fan, like a desk fan. It's about 10 inches in diameter, and it's under my desk, and it moves the air and keeps my legs at a nice temperature. I have a ceiling fan above me. I also have a wall air conditioner that I keep at a certain temperature that helps me to stay comfortable. I have a plant in my room. I looked up and researched the types of plants that grow in certain types of light and that thrive in certain environments. So I have one of those types of plants. I have flowers. I have a candle. It makes me happy and feel good to just have like a scented candle. I have light colors, beiges, and rose gold, and some light pinks, and just different muted colors, pastel colors. They make me really happy. Lights make me happy, like sparkly lights. They don't have to be twinkling. Last week I had them twinkling because it was New Year's Eve. But I I feel best when I'm really hydrated, so I like to drink a lot of water. Um, I struggle. Sometimes I typically dissociate when I shower, and so I like to take baths instead of shower. And sometimes it's um, a lot of effort for me to wash and condition and dry my hair because our water pressure at our apartment isn't the greatest. And even though they've looked at it several times, like it takes a really, really, really long time. And so I save up, like I save up and I go and I have my hair girl. I drive to her house about an hour away sometimes, and I'll sit there and I'll let her wash my hair and blow dry it, condition it, and put like a treatment on it and blow dry it for me. And that is a way that I take care of myself. I'm not saying go spend a whole bunch of money on blowouts. That's not what I'm saying. Like go to the blow dry bar, spend your whole paycheck. Like don't feed your kids. Like that's not what I'm saying. I'm telling you what self-care looks like for me. Um, I'm just sharing from my personal experience before I answer your questions that I need to have ample sleep. I need to have cotton sheets that don't have any polyester in them because cotton sheets breathe and they don't overheat me. I need to have layers on my bed to where if I'm warm, I can move one of the layers off, but I can still feel safe and covered. Um, when I wake up, I I like to hydrate right when I first wake up. I love to be able to have a cup of coffee with my husband, and we have Bible study every morning. We read a proverb together. We talk about what's going on in our lives, what's going on in our marriage. He asks how he can pray for me. He asks about you guys, if there are any specific prayer needs in our community or with my private clients. Um, we read a little daily devotional together. Um, One of you asked me if we read Dear Beautiful. Dear Beautiful is a daily devotional that I wrote for trauma survivors. and we don't read that together. I don't think my husband's ever read any of my books that I've written. I sort of just like to read other people's stuff. I don't like, I mean, it would be, I don't know, like I feel like it would almost be weird and like narcissistic of me to like read my own stuff. That's weird. But I mean, I don't know, maybe that's my judgment on myself. But we read Our Daily Bread. Sometimes we read Jesus Calling. Sometimes we read Oswald Chambers. He's one of my favorites. Sometimes we will read like Chuck Swindoll. There are just some inspirational authors. I like Rob Bell. Some of his books that he's written. I love Donald Miller. We talk about different just inspirational books that we're reading. Greg Laurie books. I just like to read things that help me apply my faith to my everyday life. That's something that's really it's a huge part of my self-care. And my prayer life is a huge part of my self-care. I feel more connected to you and to others and to myself when I'm connected to God. So that's part of my self-care. Music is a big part of my life. Music is part of the reason why I'm even alive today. So music is huge for me. Movies are a huge part of my self-care. The primary language spoken in my home when I was raising my son was movie quotes. If I asked my son an everyday life question and he didn't respond in a movie quote or in an impression of like a silly voice, then I probably would have thought like, what's wrong with my child? What have you done with him? And who is this person? So movie quotes are big, movies are big, lots of 80s stuff, obviously, because I was a child of the 80s and it became sort of retro, hip, cool for my son to kind of know what was up with the 80s and all of that. Anything 90s is very healing for me and good because that was when I was raising my son. The first 8 years of his life was all throughout the 90s and even the early 2000s. All the way up to like the mid 2000s, like 2009 was probably like the highlight of my life. Some of the greatest moments of my entire life were spent in 2009. Just driving my son around, training for half marathons, driving him and all of his friends places, driving my truck, leaving the truck in the parking structure at his work, walking home like 7 miles because I was training for half marathons. And so like I would just walk everywhere and, just, I don't know, going to the health food store, going to the farmer's market, going to Whole Foods, going to the movie theater with my son, to every single movie premiere that he ever wanted to go to. We went everywhere together. Disneyland was a big part of my life. Like I took my son to Disneyland. I don't even know how many times. If it was raining out and it was my day off and I had money in my savings account, we were going to Disneyland. Now, mind you, this was back in the day. This was in the 90s when it was affordable to go to Disneyland. Like we looked into going recently and it was like, how in the world are we going to do that? Like that is so expensive. I would have to save up for like 6 months to go to Disneyland right now. So, but yeah, so these are all just a part of my own self-care journey. Sometimes self-care can be as simple as preparing yourself a nice meal in a nice, beautiful bowl. Like maybe you want to make, homemade steel cut oats with almond milk and blueberries. I love that. In a beautiful bowl and actually put a placemat down with a beautiful spoon and sit at the table and not just walk around my house and hurry and eat really quick. Like really allowing myself to sit and rest and be in the moment instead of moving from thing to thing, moving from task to task, moving from video to podcast to phone call to client call to lead the daily call to do this, to do that, to meet with this person, to go there, to minister to this person. Like I want sometimes just to be in the moment and do something for myself. That's part of my self-care regimen. The entire year of 2019 is dedicated to me learning how to practice intentional daily self-care. Going for a drive out in nature and just being able to look at a sunset or a sunrise or the wind blowing through the trees. Or the other morning, my husband and my nephew were gone. They left early, and it was just me, and I was sitting there with the birds, just feeding the birds little seeds, and they were talking back and forth, and my three little favorite birds, like, rolled up like they own the place, like, where's ours, and then this little mongoose just scurried. He was in a bush, and then he scurried across the way, like across the grass, and the birds weren't even afraid of the mongoose. It was just observing nature. It ministered to my soul in ways that I don't even know how to express to you and describe in words. It's just indescribable. So those are all things that I'm doing intentionally to take care of myself. I've just started a new health regimen where I am I'm taking these amino acids and these probiotics, and I'm having these shakes with like kale and spinach and other kinds of greens in them, and just making really, healthy food decisions, and keeping in mind, my blood sugar and my joints and my body, and, my mind and my digestive tract, and, the needs I have for different proteins and vegetables, and, do I do dairy or no dairy? Do I do meat or no meat? Like, I'm making these decisions. I'm just glancing at them, and I'm finding out what's best for me. Not from a narcissistic or self-serving way, but from a self-care perspective, because these are not things that come naturally to me. These are things I had to teach myself. They were never taught to me. So that can be a version of what self-care might look like. It doesn't always have to be going to the spa and spending all kinds of money, or taking yourself shopping, treat yourself. It doesn't have to be like that. It can be something very, very simple, like lighting a candle, or having a beautiful photograph of people that you love nearby. I have a silly picture of my husband and I up at the top of the volcano that sits here on the top of my desk. I, you know, I've been doing my fingernails lately because it makes me feel pretty to have pretty fingernails. I got these little kind that you just do yourself. Like, here's some, right? Like, there's these little like sparkly ones that go on your ring finger, and then there's just like the regular like reddish brown color. Like, those are kind of fun and fancy. I wouldn't normally paint my nails that color because it would get everywhere and I would be like, ah. So excuse me, I get a drink of water. But so I'm doing those things myself, you know what I'm saying? This is a new brand that uses these little sticky things where you just press them on. It's called Impress. But I usually use this brand, and it's called Kiss. And these are sparkly and fun. Like, that's so me, right? I just love having sparkly fingernails. It makes me happy. And then here's some, like, my husband knows that like this, like Tiffany blue color is my favorite color. So there's those. So like, and then like I usually will like paint my toenails, and I'm just trying to take better care of myself. And I have different candles that I light just whenever. I have this little spray that I got a long time ago, and then it ran out, and so I filled it with like essential oil and water. And it's like lavender and eucalyptus essential oil mixed with purified water. And it's just like I just close my eyes and just do like a spritz on my face. Like, it just feels refreshing. It just feels nice, And this is not the brand of it. Like, I just made it myself. It's just like, this is an old thing that I got several years ago, left over. But now it's just something I do myself. I don't know, different like inspirational little like things that people make me, like some of the community members here. Oh gosh, where did it go? One of our community members wrote me a 12 Days of Christmas self-care style. and like complex trauma recovery style. And I'm going to be reading that during our Spark of Hope campfire night for our daily calls. So I forgot to tell her that I was going to do that, but just different inspirational things. It's part of the things that I'm trying to do for my own self-care. I like to wear lipstick. It makes me feel pretty. I have like this little sign that I went and I was speaking at some churches back when I launched my books like 3-4 years ago, and they made me this, or they bought this for me or something. And one of the presentations I did was called From Broken to Blessed, and they gave this to me as a gift. And so anyway, just little things that help me to just feel, I don't know, like loved and cared for, and or that keep me on track. Like this is a journal. This is a journal I got from moo.com. This isn't a sponsored video or anything, but this is a sponsored journal. It's a focus journal, right? And it helps me stay focused. This is me taking care of myself. I'm just sharing. I'm peeling back. What is it, like the wizard's curtain or whatever? And this is just an example of what my journal says. Like, draw and narrate the before and the after of your goal, of what it is that you're working on. What is your project? Different blank pages that you can draw on just for fun. Different reminders in here. Like this says, so this says like, oops, there we go. This says, ship it. Like, in other words, don't get stuck. If you're working on a project, don't try to make it perfect. It's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. It says intent. Are you doing this on purpose? The work, the effort, the planning, are you clear on what it is for and who it is for? Because the plumber doesn't accidentally fix a toilet, and the poet doesn't accidentally write a poem. The argument is simple. If you've put pen to paper, if you've chosen to do a project, then do it professionally, without drama, without pretense, without a narrative. This is the work. You get a chance to do it. And, just different reminders for me that, this is like, this is an area of the journal that talks about your inner critic and the dialogue that might be going on in your head with your inner critic. Listen to some of these ideas that it already tells me that I can just take out of my mind and not apply it to what it is that I'm working on here for this community, things I'm building for you. They're saying regarding anything I'm working on, like this year I'm working on a whole bunch of stuff for you guys surrounding the topic of self-care from complex trauma recovery, recovering from complex trauma, managing CPTSD symptoms in a way that is helpful for you from a self-care perspective. That's my goal, right? That's the project I'm working on. So it says, if you hear any of these from your inner critic, underline them. If you find yourself saying them to yourself, stop yourself. It's too soon. It's too late. It's technically risky. It's not boring. It will offend retailers. There are significant legal issues. The plant is too backed up to produce this. It will take too much training to support these people. The media won't get it. Our industry is too regulated. The Home Office won't approve. There's no room in this year's budget to do this project. You might fail. Our big competitor will steal our ideas. It's been done before. This has all been done before. This has never been done before, so why do it? People will laugh at me. So, you guys, I'm just doing the very best I can to try to, stay focused on creating content for you guys here every week like I do, and more often than every week, right? Like, not just every week. I want my little blessed sign back where I had it. But, this channel has been a huge part of my life since 2014, right? And I have goals and dreams, and I have ways that I want to help you and support you. And I love spending time with you. So I'm not going to let anything get in my way. I'm going to take really good care of myself so that I can show up for you guys and with you guys in a way that's helpful and supportive and meaningful and sustainable. And it's not sustainable if I push myself too hard or if I don't take time out, So let's see here. Where was I? Here we go. Okay, so everything's on the topic of self-care tonight. So Guayana says, I love this subject because I find it difficult to do the self-care. My question is, how can I get the motivation to do it when I get anxious just trying to call my doctor, or I get so unmotivated? This is a great question, Guayanas. So the way that I'm going to answer your question is by asking you a question and then giving you my feedback. So my question for you is, what do you normally do when you're anxious? What do you usually do when you're anxious or unmotivated? I would ask myself, if I'm Guayanas, what do I like? And this is not a judgment on yourself. This is for you to just glance at yourself and just glance at what you typically would do on any given day. How do I respond to anxiety? How do I respond to a lack of motivation? How do I typically respond to those things? So I would sit with that. I would probably write it down, because if it doesn't get written down, it's not going to get addressed. And I would list all the things that I would typically do when I'm not in like a triggered state or feeling anxious or unmotivated. Do this when you're not feeling anxious or unmotivated. Like when you're feeling your best. If you're a morning person, sit down in the morning and do this. Wake up a few minutes early and do this. If you're a night owl, then maybe like just before you go to bed or right after you watch your favorite show, then do this. I would write out, Athena told me to write this down. And then I would write out how you typically approach anxiety and lack of motivation. I would write out in words. When I'm anxious, I usually fill in the blank. When I'm unmotivated, I usually fill in the blank. Get really clear on what it is you usually do. And then once you sit with what you usually do, glance at it. Don't judge yourself and don't should yourself all over the place, whatever you do, okay? But what you can do is think to yourself, well, what's the opposite of this? Let's say when you're anxious, you bite your fingernails. That's what I do. I'm just using myself as a reference because it's all I have to work with. So, I could talk about my clients, but I think you guys prefer when I just share something personal. So let's say when you're anxious, you bite your fingernails or your cuticles. So you would write, when I'm anxious, I usually bite my fingers and pick my cuticles. And so what I would do, if that were me, if that were the answer that you wrote down, I would intentionally, because do you notice, can we even, seriously, can we, this is a thing for me. So since when I'm typically anxious, I bite my fingernails and pick my cuticles, the way I'm going to care for myself is to intentionally drive and get something that will keep me from biting my fingernails and picking my cuticles. Because do you see? Look Look at those cuticles. Nothing is picked. Nothing is red. Nothing is like, hello, right? Can you even, these are the press-on kind. These are just the kind you press on like here's like the little leftovers, right? So so if it was Guayana's, like let's say Guayana's says, when I'm anxious, I usually have a glass of wine. And let's say that's something that leads to 2 or 3 or 4 glasses of wine. Then I would switch up that behavior and I would have like something different to drink than wine, something that is opposite or different from the pattern that you're in. Because if we want to get somewhere different, we have to do something different, right? So if I want to not have ugly fingernails and cuticles, oh, the shame. Such shame. Did I ever tell you what my family used to do to me? I can't right now. I just can't. Like, it's too bad. It's horrible. You guys will probably all get triggered and leave. And there's 42 of you. I don't want there to be 2 of you left. If I told you what my family used to do to me when I bit my fingernails, like seriously, many of you have been here since 2014 and you already know. But yeah, so, oh, the shame. So Guayana's, what do you do when you lack motivation? So for me, if it were me and when I feel unmotivated, I will shame myself and eat because I eat my feelings. And so what I would do is I would flip that on its head, because if I want to get somewhere different, I have to do something different, to go a different way. And so I would find affirming statements around me being unmotivated, like lots of people get unmotivated. Some of the choices you could make instead of eating are the following. And then I could choose, like what I've been doing lately when I feel unmotivated, instead of shaming myself and eating, I usually will try to reach out and connect with someone and do something for someone else. I will respond to an email that someone sent me. I will record a voice message for somebody and send it to them. I will text someone that has texted me. I will try to go through and like and love and share and support people in our group. I will do my very best to do something different than what I originally wrote down is what I usually do. So I hope that's helpful, Guayanas, because guess what? I'm willing to bet that out of the 42 people here live and the several hundred people that will watch this video, many of them get anxious, struggle with self-care, and also feel unmotivated. So if we take away the judgment and we look at what it is we usually do, and we just glance at it and we have compassion for that person that is us, that does those things for a reason, whether it's because that's what's worked for them in the past, it's what was taught for them, what was modeled for them. Perhaps your father or your mother or your uncle or your brother or your grandpa got really anxious and really unmotivated. And so those were behaviors that maybe you picked up on. Maybe you didn't learn different. In order for us to do different, we need to learn different. We need to go a different way. So please know that there's no shame in any of this, Guayanas. I'm so proud of you for reaching out and asking the question. I hope it was helpful. Hunter says, hello, Athena. Hello, Hunter. Can you use an expressive self-care modality to reveal hidden details about your trauma? Yes, you can. You can. You want to know what I just recently did? It's down at my feet. You can't see it. I purchased some watercolor pens. I'm going to be doing some, and I got this little watercolor notebook. I just got it on Amazon. And I found some people on Instagram where I look at their I follow a couple hashtags like watercolor self-care, watercolor, expressive modalities, etc., drawing, art, whatever. I just touch some different hashtags on Instagram, and then I follow the hashtag if I like what I see. and I'm going to learn how to use watercolor pens and post it on Instagram as a form of self-care, like for my healing. So yes, 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 you can. I'm going to look at different ones that people have done. Like if you touch self-care on Instagram, you can look at the different things self-care. If you touch, trauma recovery, if you touch, watercolor or art or mixed media, you can look and see what people do and only follow the people that you really like. And please, if any of you struggle with this, which I have, obviously, because that's why I'm telling you about it, if you follow someone because you think you're going to love their content and then all of a sudden they post some things that are triggering for you, please know that it's okay to unfollow people. That's a radical act of self-care. It's okay to unfollow them. Please know that. I am on physical health journey. And so I was like, I know what I'll do. I'll follow a couple of these curvy girls because, I got some curves. You guys don't really see the rest of my body, but well, you got my sweater. It's all bulky, but I mean, I'm kind of a curvy girl. I'm not like a little stick, I got some curves. Or what do they say? What does Meghan Trainor say? All the right junk in all the right places. Like I got junk in the trunk and I got things going on. And so I followed these curvy girls that are on this health journey that are, committed to exercising and losing some weight and eating really healthy with vegetables and greens. And I was like, yeah, this will be motivating for me. Oh my word. Some of the ones I followed were like posting these like half naked shots and like it was all boobs and butt. And I was just like, oh my goodness, what was I thinking? Like I looked at their accounts. I thought that I was doing a good thing and it was just not good. So I unfollowed them and I felt guilty doing it. I was like, I don't want them to think I'm mean. I don't want them to think I'm not supportive of their own journey. Like, you know what I'm saying? But I just was like, for my own self-care, I cannot be looking at all this triggering stuff. Like this is just very triggering for me. No, thank you. So the short answer, Hunter, is yes. And then the long answer is everything I just said. So I know you like to do computer-aided design, Hunter, and so do I. I like to draw things in the computer and use different programs, but I'm trying to use my body and touch things and touch paints, and the watercolor pens are a way that I'm going to try. And I got some little markers, and we're going to be doing some coloring books and for the foundation. I'm going to be creating them and putting them up on the website for you all so you can download some coloring pages and that kind of a thing. So stay tuned for that. But yes, the quick answer is yes, Hunter. And the long answer is everything I just said. So I hope that healing modalities or expressive modalities, expressive arts are something which aid you in your trauma recovery journey. Thank you, Hunter. Willow says, how do you recommend dealing with the shame of recognizing that you yourself still participate in toxic relationships and find yourself quite toxic still? I feel really embarrassed. Willow, this is such a mask off moment. This is such a vulnerable moment for you. I want to just sit with you, Willow, and I want to just tell you, like I've said a lot previously, and I want to say this again. I just want to Willow, I just love you. I just love you, Willow. And I want you to know, it wasn't that long ago. I was the unsafest person in the room. I still had toxic friendships. I still had a very codependent dance I did with my dad. I still allowed my mother to text me and Skype me. I was still triangulating along with the rest of my stupid ass family members that wanted to triangulate me and talk shit behind everybody's back. And I allowed them to do it. And then occasionally, if I got frustrated, I would call up my cousin and be like, WTF, what's wrong with my dad? And, I would, so it wasn't that long ago, Willow. Yes, it's shameful, but I want you to sit with the fact that we can choose to allow ourselves to shame ourselves. I was ashamed of it in the moment, back in the day, when I was doing all those things. And now I look back and I'm like, gosh, I could look at that as though I'm like so ashamed of how I was. Or I can look at it like, I wonder where, like, just look at it with curiosity. Willow, just promise me that you will look at some things with curiosity. Promise me. Promise me that you'll get curious, Willow, about where this type of relationship pattern or behavior came from. Let's get curious with it together. Okay? So let's sit with this, Willow. Let's go, I'm really curious about this rather than like, gross. Like, I can't believe I still do that. It's so sad. Like, I'm ridiculous. I don't even like, it's my own fault. No wonder I struggle. Like, look what I allow in my life. Look at how I still like reach out to so-and-so, and look at how this, and look at what that is about, and look at my family, and I just can't just detach from them. What's wrong with me? Everybody else is going no contact. Why can't I? Rather than doing that, Willow, let's just look at it with curiosity. Let's go, I'm curious about this. Where did I learn these behaviors? Where did this come from? And be honestly curious about it. And then if we can, I'll model it for you, and then you can do what I say, or you can figure out your own way to say it. But I would go, oh, well, Willow, well, look what we have here. Like, no wonder there's still some toxic relationships in your life, and no wonder this is the thing that is your go-to response. And it's so understandable that that person would still be in your life. And look at the example that was set for you, and look at the cards you were dealt and the relationships you had to choose from for all those years. And let's look at that. Like, I have such compassion for what that must have been like for you growing up. And not only that, but like where you are now. And this is something that we should keep in mind at all times, Willow. When we're young, it's black and white. It's family, or I'm going to die and be alone, or be alone and die. And so it's easy for us in these moments to go, well, I either have to go no contact with my whole entire family and do life alone and figure it all out on my own and be lonely forever and die alone, or stay in touch with all these people and then allow myself to be triangulated and participate in these behaviors. And the shame. Like, it doesn't have to be this or that. It doesn't have to be black or white. I want to encourage you, Willow, to maybe not only have compassion on what that must have been like growing up with that type of example, but also perhaps compassion on who you are present day and how many people you reach out and help, and your presence on social media, and how encouraging you are, and just being here in this community, and how kind you are to everyone, and how welcoming you are, and how sweet you are in the chat box, and how meaningful it is to have you here with us. And allow yourself the space to go, maybe next week, when I identify something that I'm doing or thinking or saying or feeling that my wisest self calls toxic, maybe I'll sit with it in the moment and I'll choose to do something different just one time next week. See how that feels. It might feel empowering and exciting, and wow, what a difference. I never knew it could be that easy. Or it might feel really awkward and you might hate it. But the whole point is, give yourself some grace and some patience and some kindness and some compassion, because you deserve it. Okay? That's my answer to your really good question. I hope that's helpful, Willow. Okay? John Harvey says, what books can you recommend on teaching good self-care? I'm so glad you asked. John Harvey, that is next week's topic. So can we skip this question and say, come back next week? Because I'm still researching all the self-care books for complex trauma. Because I want you guys to have books that will help you. Books are such a great reference. They're a great way for us to go, let me see, if I can just follow what it is that they say, I will have this outcome. So I hope that's okay, John Harvey, that I don't answer your question right now. So to Mark and Demi and the team, my dream team, to Mark and the dream team, that's not a question that I'm going to add. To Blessing who's watching this, she's part of the dream team. I'm not going to add that to the spreadsheet as a question because I'm going to answer it next week. So I have someone, you guys, I have an entire dream team of people that are rewatching all the videos and documenting all the questions that you ask so that we can put out short little videos of each individual question so we can reach more people that don't have an hour or two to sit with us. Isn't that so awesome? I'm so excited about that. That is one of the projects that's in my focus journal. Right? Isn't that incredible? Daily content on this channel. Can you even believe it? Oh my gosh. So that's next week, John Harvey. One second. My goodness gracious. Okay. So Rhonda says, why is it common for males and females to start later in life to recall trauma long forgotten? What triggers it? And can a form of burnout or breakdown occur? So it's a two-part question. Great question, Rhonda. And in my personal and professional opinion, just from the research I've done personally, for females, memories from prior trauma start resurfacing when we get to a point in our lives when we feel more comfortable in our own skin and we've launched into adulthood and we are farther away from the family of origin and the original traumas that are happening. We're not necessarily away from the geographic location we grew up in, but sometimes we are. But we are often relationally more distant from people that were involved in our trauma narrative when we were younger. And so when we get away from that, our subconscious, which wins 100 times out of 100, says, okay, now we can process all that stuff that we dissociated through so that we could survive. And so for women, that's right around age like late 20s all the way through to late 30s. And for men, that's usually late 30s into late 40s. And it has something to do, I believe, with your frontal lobe developing later on in life. The frontal lobe is not fully developed until we're in our 20s. And that is where all of our executive functioning and the way that we respond and react to things, and our brain is still actually forming until we're in our 20s. And so then it needs time to sort of go, okay, what is life about? What are we doing? What are we doing? And then women are just like, boom, what am I thinking about? Why am I remembering that? Et cetera, et cetera. And Rhonda goes on to ask, what triggers it? And can a form of burnout or breakdown occur? So in my observation, in my personal and professional experience, in my observation, the cumulative nature of trauma comes into play. So trauma that happens today is not just something I'm going to deal with in this isolated situation. The way our brains work is, if you've ever seen the movie Inside Out, Rhonda, they use little balls, little marbles. This particular trauma ball is very familiar. It's a certain color and it gets processed a similar way to other memories that are similar. And so just a personal example of this, Rhonda, is when I first moved here to the island I live on, I was hiking and I shattered all the bones in my ankle. It was the weirdest, freakiest accident because I was only standing like that far off the ground, maybe that far off the ground. I was literally both feet right here on a rock, and I like bunny hopped like down to the ground right here. And I heard kind of a snap, like someone was sneaking up behind me, like they'd stepped on like a tree branch or something. And I turned around and there was nobody there. And I was like, huh, weird. And I went to take a step and I collapsed in pain, and all the bones in my ankle were shattered. It was like, oh my goodness. And I guess this trauma of the break of my bones, because I'd never broken a bone before, triggered all this other stuff that was painful, emotionally painful and physically painful from my childhood, because boom, I was thrown into trauma recovery. And I didn't even understand like why or how, but that's how it all came up. Something traumatizing that happens present day, whether it's an inordinate amount of stress, a physical illness, a death in the family, moving residences, a change of jobs, a significant loss like a pet, or again, the loss of a loved one, relocating, moving out of state, like, moving house, anything that is like a transitional thing in life that's like a big thing, that can trigger old stuff. And that's what happened with me. So when I broke all the bones in my ankle, all of a sudden I was having all these childhood memories that I probably had when I was younger, but I just stuffed them away and thought, that's in the past. I just need to move on, which is not anything you'll ever hear on this channel. So the answer is yes. A breakdown and burnout can definitely happen, because when it sort of happened again for me, like about 4 years later, when my son enlisted in the military during a time of war and turned down his college scholarship. So that would have been the most significant loss in my life if my son would have died, because he's like the one and only human on the entire planet that loved me just unconditionally and didn't want anything from me, didn't want to exploit me for profit, didn't want to bully me or be mean to me or triangulate me or anything. Like, he just loved me. And so losing him, which is what I automatically thought would happen when he enlisted during a time of war, would have been unbearable. And so I was flung into trauma recovery again, because I had sort of went to EMDR after I broke my ankle. I did EMDR. It really helped. And I was really great. I felt fantastic after about like 10 or 15 sessions of EMDR. EMDR is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. It's a trauma modality that helps you to create new neural pathways, where if you typically experience something stressful and you get anxious or unmotivated or bite your fingers or eat or do something, it causes you to do something different, think something different, and do something different, because you have processing statements and you have corrective processing statements within the context of EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, which can be used. It's bilateral movement that helps you to bilateral stimulation, which helps you make new neural pathways. And it can also be used in conjunction with somatic experiencing, which was created by Peter Levine, who wrote Waking the Tiger Within and talks all about how the body holds on to trauma. And he's worked in conjunction with and done talks with Bessel van der Kolk. And so anyway, I hope that was helpful, Rhonda. Great question. And thank you for asking it. I'm trying. I lost my place. Oh my gosh, you all, we're already 15 minutes after. So next week's topic was going to be books for self-care, but I feel like it might be better for me to come back and answer Tracy Jarrett's question, Vi's question, Deborah Herrendine's question, Francesca Castellano's question and Declan's question. So I feel like you would be better served if I came back next week and answered all of those questions. And then I could also give you a list of all the books that would be really good for self-care. How does that sound? I feel like I want to log on and see what you guys say. Answer in the chat box. I can't see the chat box normally, and I know that there are 45 of you. But what I want to do is I want to see has tonight been helpful, by the way? Have these examples of self-care been helpful for you? Let me know. I'm going to try to have 45 of you here. Has tonight been helpful, by the way? Have these examples of self-care been helpful for you? There, I paused it. That was awkward. Let's see. Tabby says yes. Kira says that sounds great. Vi says yes. Francesca says yes. Martha says yes. Tracy says yes. Kira says yes. Vi says yes. Yay! And Hunter says yes. Deborah says works for me. And the speech boxer says awesome. And Andrew says great idea, Athena. Yay! Awesome. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for just this method of being able to, I have hair. This method of being able to communicate. So this year of self-care, you guys, is super duper important. And it's okay if we are, I want to give you guys permission, okay? Because not only is it difficult to care for ourselves as complex trauma survivors, but because it can feel really narky and am I a narcissist? I'm the narcissist. That's the problem. I'm the problem. I'm the problem. It's so interesting how we can project all that crap onto us because we want to just take care of ourselves. We just want to learn to take care of ourselves. So I just want to give you permission to take good care of yourselves. And I also want to just say that it's okay if you forget to take care of yourself Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and you're I can't go to Q&A on Monday because Athena's going to ask us if we've been taking care of ourselves and I'm going to have to say no. And oh, the shame. I bit my fingernails. I ate my feelings. Just seriously, you all, if I bite off all of my fake nails and eat my feelings for the rest of the week, I'm going to be here on Monday. I'm not going to not show up. I'm going to be guys, I really wanted to do intentional daily self-care and I thought I was doing really, really good, but it was hard. And my nephew's visiting from Iowa and he's sleeping in the other room and I'm on a different schedule and have house guests and I'm doing things and I'm juggling. I have my dream team lives in 6 different time zones, just so you know. I got Nigeria, I got Pennsylvania, I got the UK, I got Australia, I got people living in Canada, I got people living in Costa Rica, I got people in all these countries all over the world. And that's my dream team, right? My dream team, they're they're making everything happen at the foundation and on this channel. And I'm trying to handle all this stuff. So if I don't take really good care of myself for a few days and I bite all my fingernails off and I eat my feelings, I promise you, I pinky promise you that I'm still going to show up here on Monday. So not only am I giving you permission to just take care of yourselves, hashtag because we are worth it, because we are worth it, because we are worth it. Okay? But I'm also saying that adverse childhood experiences is a thing and it carries over into adulthood. Remember, this versus this. What happens now is connected with what happened back then, always connected. That's trauma informed. We struggle sometimes. It's difficult to bring in new patterns of doing things and new habits and new things and new stuff. It's hard. It's hard. It's for the last 11 to 12 days, I've been on a new food regimen. And guess what? It's affecting my sleep. Like, I'm not sleeping the same because I'm having all these nutrients and it's giving me all this energy. And it's not that I don't want the energy. I'm like, thank you. I need the energy. Hello. But it's affecting my sleep. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, it's affecting my sleep. What if I get sick? And then I start catastrophizing. So I'm saying it's okay to take care of yourself, unashamedly take care of yourself. Buy yourself a pair of boots and a stocking cap and some gloves like Miss Vi, who is a self-care badass, or buy yourself 3 sets of fake nails because it was like buy 2, get 1 free at the CVS. Or, light a candle for yourself, a 3-wick candle, which are more expensive than the single wick candles. Okay. Or if you screw up and you forget to take care of yourself, it's okay to just show up here and be like, I really want to take better care of myself because I know 2019 is the year of self-care. And it's okay. We'll just get right back where we started and we'll just talk about it. It'll be totally fine. And we are going to answer all the questions about all the things. From Declan and Francesca and Deborah and Vi and Tracy. We're going to answer those questions next week, along with a list of books of self-care. What books we can read that will help us with self-care. Okay? And I pinky promise that even if I don't take good care of myself Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and even Monday, I'm still going to be here Monday night. And I will just tell you all. I will debrief you on how my week of self-care went. That will be something we do every week, 52 times in the year of 2019. You will hear from me 52 debriefs of how my week was of self-care. I promise you, I will talk with you about this. It's an open conversation. It's Q&A Monday. And sometimes I'll have more questions than answers, but I'm still going to show up. Okay? Deal? Will you pinky promise with me? I love the pinky promise emoji. Like, have you seen the pinky promise emoji? Where is it? Whoops. I want to show you the pinky promise emoji. It probably isn't called that, but that's what I'm calling it, okay? This is the pinky promise emoji, in my opinion. Can you see it? Pinky promise emoji, okay? So if you pinky promise that you don't have to show up. If you can't come, you can't come. No worries. But do you pinky promise that you will do your best to give yourself permission to take really good care of yourself this week? and give yourself permission that even if you don't take really good care of yourself this week, that you won't shame yourselves. That's a good pinky promise. Okay? Pinky promise. Put a pinky promise down in the chat box if you're on board. I hope I see 40 pinky promise emojis and more, because we're going to have hundreds of people here after. If you are here watching a replay and you're on board with this whole self-care thing, then put a pinky promise emoji down there in the comments section. And if this video has been helpful for you, it would mean so much to me if you would vote thumbs up or thumbs down, preferably thumbs up if it was helpful. And if it wasn't helpful for you, then vote it thumbs down, and then I'll see what I can do about making it more helpful for you. But it would mean a lot to me. So thanks so much for being here. Thanks for being in my life. Thanks for allowing me to be in your life. And this is the year of self-care. Okay? I'm so excited. Take really good care of yourselves. Be gentle with yourselves tonight. And I will see you next Monday. And I'll answer all those questions that are left over from tonight. And we'll have a list of books that will help us with self-care. Okay? Bye, everybody.